Hey everybody, it's Doug Woods again. This is the third episode of So I Bought My First Guitar, Now What? I realized in the first video I described all the components of an acoustic guitar. I failed to describe the components in an electric guitar, so I'll do that real quickly. They're essentially the same, okay? Uh, I'll grab this one right here. This particular one is a Strat style guitar, and here is its components. Instead of the bridge and saddle configuration that you saw on the acoustic guitar, this has what you call a floating bridge, which allows you to detune the strings with this tremolo bar or whammy bar. Instead of having a single saddle, if you can see, there are individual saddles at each string. That allows me to fine tune the lengths of these strings, which is called intonation, which is something I'll teach you in later lessons on how to set the intonation on your guitar. And then instead of a sound hole that's taking acoustic energy and then magnifying it through the resonant body, a resonant cavity of the guitar, and then back out, we have pickups. Pickups are nothing more than magnets and coils wrapped around them. So there's magnetic draw between the strings and the magnets. The strings vibrate, the magnet senses that, and then the coils change that magnetic energy into electrical energy that gets pushed out the guitar cord to the amplifier, where that electrical energy is produced back into sound energy out your speaker. I can explain that in a whole lot greater detail, but for the beginning guitarist, that's probably all you need to know. If you have questions about that, just shoot me up and I'll give you like some real solid answers on that. We go to the fretboard. It's pretty much the same as the acoustic guitar. Neck, once again. The nut is a little bit different on this guitar because it has this floating tremolo system. Without this locking nut, where it basically has bolts that lock on, nuts and bolts that lock the strings in place, it would detune when you affected the tension on the string. And then you have tuning keys, headstock, etc. Alright, so that's your basic electric guitar with a floating tremolo system. I'll show you one more. Here's an electric guitar of mine that has a fixed bridge. Okay, now this bridge and saddle looks a lot more similar to the acoustic guitar, but if you look closely, each one of those saddles are independent as well, which allows me the opportunity. Oh, if you can see over my shoulder, it's my son waving to you guys. He likes being part of these videos even if it's behind the scenes. If you look at these saddles, you'll notice those are individual. Once again, allows me to fine tune the lengths of each string. And the reason being is with electric guitars, most people are doing a lot of solo work. You're playing down here in the high register, or up here in the high register rather. You need that precise, otherwise your guitar will be in tune up here, out of tune down here. We don't want that. Alright, neck and fretboard's the same. Tuning keys like the headstock are the same, except these particular tuning keys are what we call locking. So this is basically a nut, a thumb screw, that I can tighten down the tension on those strings so they don't slide around when they're detuned and stuff like that. It's just a nice upgraded feature that are on some nicer guitars. Other than that, it's pretty much the same. Now on to the lesson. I told you, or I promised you guys on episode 2, that I was going to show you guys the C scale today. Alright, so at the 8th fret is where you'll find C. The C scale is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and back to C, the higher octave. Alright, so let me run that down and give you fret by fret what notes those are. So at the 8th fret is C. At the 10th fret is D. At the 7th fret is E. At the 8th fret is F. At the 10th fret is G. The 7th fret on the D string is your A, and on the 9th fret on the D string is your B, then that 10th fret is going to be C. Okay, so once again it's C, D, E, F, G, A, B, back to C. It could run on down, but we're just going to worry about that first octave right now. Now, remember in the second episode I told you all music theory is based off of C. Okay, there are no sharps and flats, they're all naturals in the key of C. So, if you take the formula on what it takes to create the C scale, and I'll explain that in a second, you can then transfer that formula over to all your other scales. The patterns will be the same. So what do I mean by that? If you notice when I played this, sometimes I was playing 2 frets apart, C to D. Sometimes you saw me playing 1 fret apart, like E to F. The guitar is lined up. The frets are all half steps. Now if you think about your piano, think about your keys on the piano. Every key is 1/2 step apart. Sometimes you have black keys in between white keys. And then there's a couple places, B to C, E to F, where there'll be a white key next to a white key. That half step is 1 key to the next key. So if there's a black key, it would be the white key to the black key is a half step. That black key to the next white key is a half step. If you went that white key, skip the black key to the next white key, that'd be a whole step. Okay, that occurs on the guitar, fret to fret to fret to fret. So 1 fret to the next fret, half step. 1 fret, skipping a fret to the next fret, whole step. Excuse me. So, first fret to second fret, half step. First step to third step, whole step. That is going to apply everywhere in the guitar. Okay? So, when we played C to D, that was a whole step. We skipped a fret. Then we went from D to E. If I was going to continue down the same string, D to E would be a whole step. We're jumping to the next string in this pattern. So D to E is a whole step. E to F is a half step. F to G is a whole step. G to A is a whole step. A to B is a whole step. And then B back to C, half step. So that means the formula is whole, whole, half. Whole, 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 half. Which means between the first and second intervals, a whole step. Second to third interval is a whole step. Third to fourth is a half step. Fourth to the fifth interval is a whole step. Fifth to the sixth interval is a whole step. Sixth to the seventh interval is a whole step. And 7 to the octave is a half step. Alright, that will transfer to every other key. Okay? So now, if you know C, and you know the pattern, if you slide your guitar or down your fingers down tonally down your guitar, then you'll be able to play in another key. So we know, we just talked about the fact that between B and C, or C and B going backwards, is a half step. So if I went up to the 7th fret, played that same pattern, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step, I could play the scale B. Sorry. And that will go on. So, once you do your warm-ups with the chromatic scale, because you should have those under your belt by now, you can work on the natural scale, the major scale. As your fingers get stronger, move them up, or excuse me, down tonally, down your guitar in the same fashion to where you can play that off of the, starting on the 2nd fret. That way it would go. Alright, you can do that, you got some pretty good finger strength going on, and we could move on to the next level. So, I think that's enough for lesson number 3. I think it's the lesson number 3 at this point in time. I hope to see you guys in the future, and my son says goodbye. If you like this video, or like my son, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button. And I hope to see you in Lesson number 4.